It's time for today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
You call him the child? Did you call the child the word? It is my own business. You call him a Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? Okay. All right, that's what you say.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, this is a case that the entire country is talking about. White woman at a playground with a child. A little 5-year-old autistic black child is there. She accuses the black child of going through her child's things and starts yelling and calling the black child the N-word over and over. A bystander is there, man also of color, and he records this white woman, and she's very bold about saying the N-word and would not apologize, very unapologetic. And then she goes on to say it again when the man says, I dare you to say it again. She says it over again 3 times. What's shocking and horrifying beyond just her conduct toward a black child, special needs child, is that Americans and those across this country, and maybe a few outside of it, raised $600,000 for her fund to support her and her family. She was not charged with a crime yet.
Well, what crime do you think she should be
Wait
charged
1 second. I'm not saying that. But that could be child abuse. But she was not charged with a crime, but raised $600,000. What does that money mean to black people? What message is being sent to black people? What it's saying to black people is that America in 2025 is no better than our fathers were back in 1965. You got that much money being raised for a white woman using such racial hate toward a 5-year-old child that says to black people, we have no friends in this country but God and ourselves. That is a message to other white people also, that whatever you do to black people, we got your back. Whatever you do to black people, to mistreat them, to violate them, even shoot them or kill them, we will raise hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to support you. What in the hell did that white woman do to deserve $600,000 being donated to her? Because white parents don't see black children like they see their own children. It ain't no way in the hell in a country like this in 2025 she should have raised $1,000, less known $600,000 for mistreating a black child.
Sometimes when I sit across the table from you, I feel like I am in the twilight zone, and this really can't be real, because just what was it, 2 weeks ago, you were applauding the Give Sin Go GoFundMe knockoff for raising a similar amount of money for an African American kid that, or a young adult, that stabbed someone else in the chest and killed them. And you were also sitting there calling the victim's twin brother a racist. You made up this lie.
I called him a liar.
No, you called him a racist.
I called him a liar and a bully.
Okay, but you also called him a racist. It's just a kid that just held his brother while he died, and you made it all up.
Who walked up bullying along with his brother.
He didn't. There's no testimony.
Walked up intimidating along with his brother.
I appreciate that you're sticking to your lie, but you're still lying. Okay, that was a murder. It was horrible, and all the people that gave money to that kid are equally disgusting. Here, this was a clearly racist scumbag woman. Anyone that's going to use, whether it's a racial pejorative or just cuss words and ugly words at a child, whether she perceived the child as autistic or not, for taking something out of a diaper bag, is a disgusting pig of a person. She's an absolute scumbag. A bad word, however, is not as evil or scummy as a murder, right? But they're both awful, right? Now you talk about, and in the Rochester, this is Rochester, Minnesota, they've said, hey, we've conducted an investigation. We've referred it to the city attorney's office for charges. This is not a criminal charges issue, right? It is somebody saying ugly things, right? It is protected against governmental reaction under the First Amendment, the free speech clause of the First Amendment. You're free to say horrible stuff, right? It shouldn't be a crime. We don't need thought or word police, but equally, we should all be disgusted with her. We should be disgusted with her, and we should be disgusted with the people that gave her money, just like we should be disgusted by the people that applauded Carmelo Anthony. But here we are, you sit over there and you say that this is somehow indicative of all of white America because there is some scummy white Americans and probably a handful of people of color that gave her money. But it doesn't. It speaks to the individuals, much like her behavior speaks to her individually, much like Carmelo's behavior speaks to Carmelo individually, and the individuals that applauded it and then lied on it, like you, it speaks to your lack of character.
No, what it speaks to is that when the
people.
murderers of Emmett Till were charged, they raised tens of thousands for those cold-blooded killers of Emmett Till. When the murderer of Medgar Evers was arrested and captured, he raised tens of thousands of dollars in the 1960s. When the killers the beaters of Rodney King, those cops in 1992 who beat the hell out of Rodney King, they raised almost $1 million for their defense. When Michael Brown's killer right here in America, around the same time, several years back now, maybe 10 years, he raised $1 million for his defense. George Zimmerman raised over $1 million for killing Trayvon Martin. Charles, we as black people have witnessed over and over and over when some white person murders a black person, no matter the circumstances, they're raising tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars from white folks in America donating to them. And now in 2025, that video is straight up. Everybody can see that. What does it say about the progress in this nation? What does it say about the state of this nation? Carmelo Anthony, his fundraising was a reaction to all of those white people who've killed black people and raised hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in their defense fund. His fundraising was a reaction and an outcry from black people that enough is enough. It is a sick state of America when a woman can talk like that to a child and be absolutely unapologetic, and then she had enough wherewithal, whoever talked to her, to create a fund me page to help her with internal expenses and raise $600,000. Charles, we have not gotten better in this country, we've gotten sicker.
Yeah, the suggestion that America has not evolved on race since the 50s, you need it because it's how you make a living, right? Perpetuating this lie to America, but you're lying, right? You're not kind of lying, you're not sort of lying, you know you're lying, and you're lying. And also trying to draw a false equivalency. I love how you pick historical incidents.
From then till today. From then till today.
And make up facts.
From all the way from back then till right now today, Charles. Yes, they did.
You just make stuff up.
Even the mayor in Mississippi gave money to those white men that were charged with killing the 3 young boys who were arresting folks to vote in Mississippi.
Let's talk about today. So every time a white person kills. The problem is that I think it is it's something like 28 times when you account for not just the number, because African American men murderers are twice as likely to murder a white person than white murderers are to murder a black person. But when you include for per capita, it's something like 30 times more likely.
Which is an outright lie.
No, it's not. It's not.
And those numbers have been disputed. Even some of the black scholars from Black Enterprise analyzed those numbers and said those numbers were not true. But you sat in that same seat and you criticized the Department of Justice data when it said white men were the most dangerous men for terrorist attacks in America. You condemn those numbers and say, that's the Biden administration.
What the Biden administration did was
the numbers are good when you like who's putting them out against who you're putting them out. But when they're against white folks, you don't like the numbers.
It's always very clear when you don't want to talk about the truth because you just shout over me. Okay.
My apologies, sir. Forgive me.
We apologize for something you do all the time. The Biden administration wants to narrow down to motive, right, and say only when this mass shooting motive, and you sit over there, you say most mass shootings are white men, which is not true, right? Most mass shootings in this country, right, are perpetuated by black male criminals, and it sucks. And we have a real problem with crime, and there seems to be an incredible racial bias into who's committing crime and also who is typically the victim of crime, because black people are also overrepresented in victimization. Here, right, this is just someone that said ugly words, and then a bunch of idiots gave her money. She's a scumbag. Right? But just 2 weeks ago, you attacked the living twin brother of a victim of a homicide.
Who was a bully right along with his brother and not stand on it.
Zero
a bully right along with his brother who went harassed and threatened an innocent young man who wasn't bothering nobody. Absolutely.
So you applaud a GoFundMe for a scumbag murderer, right? And you cry about a
Carmelo
for a
Anthony
scumbag racist.
Was defending himself.
No, he absolutely was not.
But Charles,
he's a scumbag murderer.
This case is not even close.
But then
you comparing this case of this white woman in Minnesota
still interrupting me.
To what's happening with Carmelo Anthony. Night and day, Charles. Stop it, man.
You're right.
This is beyond sick.
You're right.
This is beyond sick, Charles.
I find murder to be worse than ugly
Charles,
words.
This is beyond sick.
But you're right. Right? They are different because one committed murder. But here's the real
Another
rub.
white woman committed a crime against a black child, a 5-year-old black child, and raised over $600,000.
It is not a crime.
Let me tell you something.
Ugly words.
We as black people got to stop wasting our time talking to white folks because
every day.
They are going to try to convince us that everything is okay. Everything is gravy, baby. They're going to try to convince us that America has evolved and we've grown and that we're better. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. This is a message being sent to all of us. And we better wake up and look at this as clear as day for what it is. America is not getting better. In the current climate in this nation based on race, America is worse now as it was in the 60s, in my opinion. And I'm worried with this type of message. I'm really worried, Charles. This message right here is now, I believe, going to inspire other hardcore racists to commit certain acts and believing that America will financially support them and take care of them. What message does this send, Charles, to other racists who want to shout evil racist words against black children? You can raise $600,000. Charles, this message right here is a scary, frightening message, but the message is being sent to us.
I don't disagree. And you notice how I sat here and listened to your diatribe without screaming over you? I just listened like an adult.
When I'm hitting you with facts, it's kind of hard.
No, you don't ever hit with facts, right? Instead, what you're taking is this horrible incident, and it is a horrible incident. It's a disgusting incident. The people that gave her money are disgusting, but it's not a crime. Right? We don't want word police in this country. The First Amendment protects against it. We just want to recognize she's a deplorable human being. But you take this and you act like you weren't advocating for it. So what was the message to white America when some kid pulled off a knife and killed him in a thing and everyone rallied around? And you,
I'll tell you the message.
No, I'm talking.
You asked me a question.
You asked me a dozen questions, and I sit there and say, you just interrupt.
You asked me a question.
Are you going to let me talk?
Go right
ahead. What you take this is you say, oh, this is a message to all black America that America is still worse than the 1960s because that's how you make money, and say, oh, we're all evil. See, I don't see this as a message to an individual race or an immutable characteristic, right? I don't see people supporting Carmelo Anthony as speaking for the black race. I think they speak for the people that seek to monetize racial grievance, you, and for the racists within the black community. I think here, this speaks to the racists in the white community. And I think all of the racists are disgusting people. And I think instead of speaking to brothers and sisters, which when you say that, you mean only black people. We've had this discussion before, right? And I think we should be speaking to everybody and maybe should say, hey, let's stop judging people based on the color of their skin.
That's not working.
No, it was working
Dr. King,
until people like
Dr.
you
King
figured out
spoke
you
those
could
same
make
words.
millions of dollars
Dr.
a year
King spoke those same
selling
words.
racial grievance.
Dr. King spoke those same words and was assassinated. Frederick Douglass spoke those same words and was never respected. Charles, we have had leader after leader after leader.
Frederick Douglass was never respected.
No, he wasn't.
Why do you just make stuff up?
Frederick Douglass, if he was so respected, they would have listened to him and did exactly what he said when he spoke about land ownership for black people and how to repair the damage that slavery did.
So
Charles,
you're saying
we have had leader after leader after leader speak to America with some of the most loving voices, kind voices that are not revolutionary, that are not radical. Those voices, Charles, failed to change the core of this nation. Charles, my biggest concern is
so when America elected Barack Obama,
this message that is being sent,
is electing African Americans not only to the top office, the executive, but all
who
the
elected
way
Barack
down.
Obama?
Okay.
We didn't choose Barack Obama. Barack Obama was selected. No, he was selected before he was elected. Remember that. Barack Obama was selected before he was elected. And in that room, were no black folks.
Okay.
When they told him to run, when they told him to run and promised him financial backing to run, no black people in that room.
Hendricks is a scumbag.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
So, Quanell, this is an update of a case where a white student with probably the whitest sounding name I've ever heard, Case and Allison, stabbed a Hispanic or Latin student, Joe Ramirez, in the bathroom of their high school in a small town, Belton, Texas. The stab wound, different, as we were just talking about Carmelo Anthony, which was a single stab to the heart. The description that I read sounds like that Kaysen stabbed Joe all over his body, right? A great number of stab wounds that ultimately took his life. He was pushing a similar self-defense against an unarmed person argument. Now, there was video out there of Joe punching him, something that has not been alleged. And what we have alleged in Carmelo Anthony was a shove, but he was ultimately found guilty. They rejected the self-defense, but then found him guilty of the state jail felony offense of criminally negligent homicide, which means the maximum he could do is 2 years in a state jail facility, which is kind of in between a county facility and TDC, real prison. Or he could actually serve his time in a county facility up to a year in jail.
If he gets any time at all.
Yeah, if he gets any time at all. They did reject the self-defense, but they found him of the lowest possible lesser included, right? Which you as a defense attorney, you can ask for an instruction on murder.
And it's up to the judge to grant that instruction.
Right, but the law favors the defendant's right to have the lesser includeds on the jury charge. Now, while I disagree with this outcome, because I personally think Case and Allison, if you look at the totality of evidence, statements he made beforehand.
Saying he wanted to kill him.
Right.
Desired to kill him. Was planning to kill him.
I think it's a disgusting outcome. I think the state did a bad job prosecuting the case. I didn't like the gleeful smirk of the female attorney there.
Because I understand it. You don't understand it.
Why don't I understand
She's sitting there smiling for a reason.
Well, because she's a
and
lawyer
listen to
and
the
she
words
won.
of that criminal defense attorney. He's bragging in his own dog whistle call way. Let me tell you what this says. I said in this chair.
Well, he won a trial.
I said in this chair before this trial started when we talked about this case, and I told you they will not find him guilty of murder.
No, you said they wouldn't find him guilty.
I told you. I said he will not be found guilty of murder. I said at best, and I was wrong here. I said maybe manslaughter, but they went less than manslaughter. Brothers and sisters, I'm saying it over and over again. They are sending a message to us in America now. This boy bragged about wanting to kill this kid. He talked in social media posts and texts wanting to kill this kid. Took a knife to school and stabbed this boy multiple times. And an all-white jury, you left that part out. An all-white jury said, no, he didn't kill nobody. It was not that. That's not murder. It's not murder. They said it's not murder. It's guilty of the lower lesser included charge. The judge didn't even remand him into custody after he was found guilty of something because the judge don't plan to give him a single day in jail. And now this is one of the reasons why, with all this evidence that showed this boy planned to kill him, planned it. This is the reason why black people are so angry in this country, because it ain't no way in the hell that a young black man could have all that evidence against him like Casey Allison has and got away with murder like this.
Hold on. You don't think
No.
there are cases in America, and maybe because you just don't pay attention, of
And
black
where's the
people,
white? And where's the
of
white
black
outrage about this
people,
guy?
of-
All the white folks
well-
who making posts about, oh, he brought a knife to a school event. Oh, he brought all these white folks. You're still a murderer. You brought a knife.
Well-
Where's all the white folks now? All the white folks talk about Carmelo Anthony bringing a knife. Hell, he brought one and planned to bring one. No, you're an individual. I'm talking about them tens of thousands of white folks, them hundreds of thousands of white folks in this country who condemn Carmelo Anthony as a cold-blooded scumbag killer, like you called him, because he defended himself. Well, I tell you what.
And so is Case and Allison.
This
They're
man
both
here,
scumbag killers.
at an all-white jury, spoke,
He-
and they sent the same message
Okay.
that they always do.
So that they always
That they always
so,
do.
So when black people,
We gotta listen.
When there's an overwhelming
Black
amount
folk
of
got to
evidence of a black person committing a violent crime
Against a white person.
and
We
against
don't
a
get
white
off.
person.
We don't get off.
Oh, hey, hold on.
We don't get off.
OJ got off.
Say what?
OJ got off
because of what?
because he's a murderer. I
No,
don't
because
know.
it was planted
Because-
evidence.
Okay.
Mark Furman, the
Okay.
racist, no
Right.
good
And
bigot detective
I
who
don't-
said the only
I
good
don't.
was a dead and then lied about
I
it.
do not
They saw
think the
police
OJ
corruption.
I
They
don't-
saw police
I don't
corruption
think
and
the-
said not guilty.
I don't think the OJ verdict speaks about black America holistically, and I don't think this
Because
this
black
verdict
folks
doesn't
have
speak about
watched
white.
thousands of white
I am a
people
white
get
person.
off for killing black people.
Okay.
For
Again,
generations.
Again, not true. Okay.
Black folks have watched
And-
white folks kill black
and-
people and get off for
Okay.
generations. Cops kill us in
Do-
cold blood, they walk away.
Okay.
No punishments.
So-
we finally got somebody locked up in the last 5 years.
Black people kill a lot more cops than cops kill black people, and a lot of those cops
Charles,
are also black. But it's
Black
okay.
folks are not Ray
get it.
Charles.
I get it.
We're not
Everyone's
Stevie
always
Wonder.
been-
We know what
Okay.
this message says.
You
We know what
the
this verdict
only-
says. We know what this verdict
that
says.
someone
The
did a
same way
bad
that white
job.
girl raised 600,000.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.